Messi Co, breaking Major League en la ciudad del sol. Here in Miami, we know who's el campeón. Leo my team, yeah. Suárez on the field, Alex wedding day team. Con mis fechas un win, the trio of every singing muchachos. Las familias se escuchan los barrios. Esta camiseta pinky la llevan todos los guachos. Los rookies quedan sin comentarios. Messi ambetea, tiki-taki gol. El estadio Chase bañado en gloria y sudor. Aquí se ama y se respeta el balón. Florida es tu casa, acostúmbrate al calor. Estate listo pa' Messi Co. Estate listo pa' Messi Co.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another very special episode of Messi Co. I'm Ashley, here as always with my incredible co-host Gian, live back. Excited to talk Inter Miami. We actually have some game footage to talk about and some signings, some players, lots to talk about. Exciting as always. We're back. So with that in mind, Gian, how we feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. Excited to talk Inter Miami. Every time we get to come on here, always a good time to chat with everybody and talk with you about the best team in MLS and the team that just continues to get better, continues to improve, even though sometimes you don't think they need it. They're MLS champs, but they're going all in this year, this season. They're going to go to win it all, multiple trophies. So it's just exciting that the preseason has finally started, 2 games under their belt. And I'm excited to, there's not a, you can't overreact to these games, but there's always things here and there that you can kind of take out of them and a little preview of what's to come in the season. So just excited to talk about that.
100%. Yeah, I feel the same. Obviously, already got a couple chats in. What's up, Boss Daddy? Aloha, friends. If you're in Hawaii, I'm jealous because I'm in somewhere very cold and it's warm now, but it was very cold the last week and a half. Mike saying he misses Boosie. Yeah, I know. Our intro video, we are working on getting a new one. It's gonna come. For now, we still are using the one from obviously last year, but
It's
there will
okay.
be no.
Look, it's February, and there are still people out with Christmas lights. Like it's not,
Yeah,
it'll happen.
exactly. We're savoring the moment. We're savoring the moment of that incredible team and MLS champs with some of the greatest ever. But we're gonna get to it. Lots to talk about, which is really exciting. I know we weren't able to do a show last week, but we have now 2 matches to talk about, which is super exciting. Starting in Peru, first match of the season, preseason, Inter Miami lose 3-0 in what was obvious. I think a performance that we don't need to go too in depth with it, but you'll say, okay, definitely some rust, right? Everyone trying to shake off the rust a little bit. Weren't getting some finishing, some kind of holes in the team, but just was the first game of the season, nothing crazy. Then though, the second game, which I think is much more exciting and more, gives us a little bit of what we're gonna see is we saw one Inter Miami win, which was really good. It was a great crowd in Medellín, and we also saw the introduction of our new player in Berterame. So a lot to talk about there. Starting with the game, though, did you? I mean, with the game in Peru, did you have any really big insights? To me, it just kind of seemed like, yeah, this team was just kind of making their way back. Nothing great or bad or something where I was like, "Oh no, like we're doomed." And then really cleaned it up in the second one.
Like I was saying, I don't necessarily try to overreact to these things, especially the first 2 games. I mean, later on towards the end of whatever the preseason looks like, maybe you're 4 games in, 5 games into the preseason, you start to see a little bit about what the coach wants the team to look like as they go into the season. Usually the first 2 games, he's playing with what he's got, the players that are most fit. Maybe not all of them are going to start, and he tries to see, in this case, Mascherano trying to see what some pairings look like. What do these 2 center backs look like? What happens if I play Segovia on the left and then I have Reguilón on the right? What if, he's tinkering. So it's not too much to take away from or overreact from that type of performance, a 3-0 loss to Alianza Lima. So not overly worried about that. 3 goals scored. Well, believe 2 were scored by Paulo Guerrero, which Paulo Guerrero actually played for my team in Ecuador, Liga de Quito. Well, an amazing player. I think he's like 40,
Out of age
41.
gracefully, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talk about Suarez and how he looks at his age. He's younger than Paulo Guerrero, and Guerrero's just playing still disgustingly at that ripe age of 40 or 41. So, but I think that the takeaways are, who started. St. Clair obviously started at that game against Alianza Lima. And then big news today, just because we're talking about the goalie. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here. We can talk about it a little bit more, but obviously Ustari officially out, even though there had rumors or reports that he was going to come out. But St. Clair starts, and then the back four was actually Ian Frey at center back with Noah Allen and Maxi Falcone and Reguillon out on the edges. And then the
Reguillon, though, someone who already.
Yeah. No, I was gonna get to that, but yeah, unfortunate. So it was De Paul, Yannick Bright, and Segovia. We didn't see Ayala start that game, so that was also interesting to see. De Paul, Bright, and Segovia, and then Messi, Suarez, and Silvetti up front. Obviously, at that point in time, I think even till now, Tadeo Allende is still not available to play. Still trying to get his visa to be able to play with the team and train and all that. But yeah, like you're saying, Ash, Reguillon. I mean, injured. I believe it was called a level 2 sprain of the knee. I think it was really scary. Anytime you see a player go down, grab his knee, you think the worst automatically, especially I think it's for us PTSD, everything that we've seen with Ian Frey, right, over the years.
Yeah.
Thank goodness he's healthy now, but you kind of squirm when you see them grab that knee. I think for me, best case scenario, the fact that it's a sprain too, it basically means that there was either just an overstretching of the ligament or maybe a slight tear, but nothing that's going to require surgery or an extended amount of time. I was looking at the recovery time for that. It could be between 6 and 8 weeks. So he may still be available to start the season, but it kind of stinks to start off the season like that already.
It's tough to see when you know it was the immediate replacement for Alba too. Like, obviously we'll talk about how they ended up lining up against or when they were in Colombia, but it was tough to see. It was a tough tackle. It was a tough injury, and that's the good and bad of preseason. It kind of makes me think of oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Do you remember the really young boy from Argentina who was on the team in the preseason game against Ecuador in Ecuador 2 years ago? Got that gnarly injury and was out for the whole year. We talked to him. We talked to him in the hallway a few times. He was really nice.
He was Ecuadorian?
No. He was from He was Argentinian, but he got the injury when they were in the preseason in Ecuador.
Shoot, I can't remember.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right? And he was like,
I can't remember though the name.
Oh my god, I could damn. But yeah, anyway, I remember.
Wait, hold on, they're teasing me in the comments. Mike Lista, bro, bro, what team are you from? This sounds like somebody that's from. You know what? I'm gonna keep this civil. This sounds like somebody that's from Barcelona or Emelec. I don't know if you're Ecuadorian. They're trying to make fun of me over here. Look, Liguista, Liga, Rey de Campeones, Libertadores, Sudamericana, Recopa. We've got it all. Best team in Ecuador. Just gonna say. But anyways, going back to this. Yeah. So honestly, I think
what you take out of that's who it was. Facundo Farias. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
But yeah. So. Out of that game, honestly, I don't think there's that much to take on that you want to really overanalyze that game. Just it's the first game of the season, or preseason rather, early on, still trying to figure out what the heck this team is going to look like, just because there's been so many new players coming into this Inter Miami team. And then still players that are unavailable. Like we said, people are starting to get their visas. Mikael didn't play, or Michael. Allende didn't play. Ayala didn't play to start the game. So. But then going into this game that we just had against Atlético in Medellín, I think that you're starting to see a little bit more of what he wants the team to look like, and seeing them perform better. I think that if there was one thing I could take away from this game is how active Messi was.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was all over the ball. The ball was always at his feet. He was moving. He played, I think it was 76 minutes. He looked like just absolutely fit. And I think he looked
It
great.
was
And that's what you
like
want
no
to.
time has passed. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked absolutely great. I think the ball also was a lot more active. I saw him playing a lot.
Fiery.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
playing really well as well. And then Suarez scores, and I know people talk crap about Suarez, but I'll be a Suarez defender in that nobody is saying that Suarez is the same player that he was 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Nobody's saying that. Nobody, at least I, will not go and say yes. He hasn't gotten slower. He hasn't, maybe he doesn't
Mhm.
have the legs he used to have under him. But at the end of the day, I still think it's a luxury to have him on your bench for when you need a player of his caliber with his experience. I think that's a luxury.
It was a
And
striker's
it's
finish
different
for
if you told
sure.
me he was going to start. Like if you tell me he's going to start, yeah, I'll absolutely say that's absolutely crazy. But we know that that's not the case. He's going to be a guy that whenever you need a player in the 80th, 85th minute to come in, and maybe you need a goal, maybe you need to hold the fort down. Like he's a player that can, I think that can do that. But his goal was funny. I don't know if you thought that goal
Yeah,
was
no,
funny.
it was a striker's finish. Like obviously Messi's off the post and it was, he's falling and trying to do something acrobatic, meaning Suarez, but a goal's a goal.
Oh my God. It was funny because Messi shoots the ball and Suarez had his hands in the air celebrating already. I didn't know
I
if you
know, right?
noticed. He
Because
had his
it
hands,
looks good.
it looked like it was about to go in. He's celebrating and the ball rebounds and catches him off guard. He basically falls as he's like it was really funny. He's basically
It-
trips over the ball and knocks it in. And as you said, it's a striker's finish. It's like always being in the right place at the
Right
right
place, yeah.
time and making sure you get good direction on that kick. Like, if it was me, I think I would have tripped over the ball or would have hit me in the stomach or something like. But that's just Suarez for you. Those are the types of things that Suarez can do. So I think it was good for this team to get their first win in a short preseason, and for Maturano to continue to experiment and see
Mhm.
the players that he wants to start. Who was it? Who even started that game? I'm gonna look it
Ayala
up.
started with DePaul. Um, I think we saw
Yeah,
Suarez.
Facundo Mura started in
Yeah,
this game. So it was Mura, Frey, Noah, Allen, Falcon again. And I think we start to see what we've talked about a lot is the flexibility of Ian Frey and him being able to play multiple positions.
yeah,
He's the type of player that will play anywhere you need him. We said he can play as a right back, he can play as the right center back, he can play as a defensive midfielder. We've seen him play all of these positions,
yeah.
and I think that that's why he's invaluable to this team and why it's important that he stays healthy. De Paul, Ayala, Segovia, there's a lot of talk. What is this team going to look like in
Mhm.
that midfield? They have so many options. Is Bright going to play at the same time as De Paul? Is Segovia going to be to play instead of Bright, because Ayala seems to be the guy that's probably going to be a
Yeah.
starter there? So I don't know.
Ayala had a good
I see
game.
that midfield. Yeah, what did you see from that midfield in
I
that?
thought it was really strong. Yeah. I think it was good in transition and Ayala seemed really comfortable. DePaul, like we said, very fiery, was hot-headed from the minute 1 and really engaged, which that's what you wanna see out of him. And Segovia too had some really good moments. Like, I thought overall the midfield was good, the whole team performance was good, and it was a good result. Like, it never felt like the team was, I would say, not prepared or didn't know what they were doing. Like, it seemed, I thought, pretty consistent and stable for, your second game in preseason, with a few parts that have changed.
Yeah, I mean, this team is going to have so many options in all the lines, defensive line, midfield line, up front. It's just going to be. I think this is the position you want to put a coach in, where he's got such good options on the table that it's going to be hard for him to figure it out. I mean, again, you talk about a midfield where you have De Paul, Ayala, Segovia. Yannick Bright, you've got David Ruiz, you've got, and then you talk about the attack, and obviously the attack is going to, I think, flow into that midfield because there are so many players that are either, if they're not going to be in attack, they can actually play midfield as well. Suarez is there. Suarez is not going to start, but you have Berterame, you have Messi,
Well,
you have
let's talk about
Allende,
it.
you have Silvetti. I mean, that
Yes,
attack is
Saveti's
going to
starting in both matches. I think that is something I think he's going to be very consistent this year.
yeah. But again, I'm gonna name these again: Silvetti, Messi, Berterame, Allende. I see no way Allende sits after
Yeah.
what they went through to bring him back, and after what he did in the postseason and breaking the record for goals in a single postseason. They won. Aside from Messi, obviously they won because of Allende, because of his clinical finishing, which is an insane contrast to that slump that he went in, that he had earlier on in the season or mid-season. But there's no way you sit Allende after what
Yeah,
they
I
went
think in this case it would be Segovia on the bench. Messi moves back sort of to like a quote unquote midfielder, and then you would have, I think, Allende, Silvetti, and Berterame all starting.
through. That to me is honestly like my dream. I just don't know how that would work. It would all depend on how much confidence Mascherano has on this new
Yeah, but
defensive.
do you think they did all that to sign to keep Allende, and then they bring in Berterame right after? Like, do you think Allende would have wanted to be not the
Okay.
starter? I can't see a world where he
No,
would.
no. There's no way Allende doesn't start. There's no way.
Do you
I
think it'd
think
be for
the
Silvetti?
question to me is Silvetti. That to me is a question, just simply because he's so young. It's not like you have the pressure to play him every game. And again, I think he's a guy that's going to get a lot of playing time, but he's somebody that if you're not gonna, if you have Silvetti, Allende, and Berterame, and then your midfield and Messi's just floats around. I mean, you basically only have two guys in midfield. It's not like you have a lot of, you just have to put a lot of responsibility on Allende and on Silvetti to come back and make
Yeah.
sure you're playing good defense. Is that something that they can do? I don't know. Is that something that Mascherano wants to bank on, especially knowing that Inter Miami most of the time is countered by a lot of teams. A lot of teams will sit back, absorb the pressure. As soon as they get the ball, they know that Miami puts numbers up front. They're able usually to get, if they run quick and make quick passes, they're usually able to outnumber Miami as Miami tries to get back
Yeah.
in position. How comfortable is Mascherano? Does he feel that a new back four of Michael with Falcon, with Mura, and probably Ian Frey at this point without Reguilon is, and with Ayala and with De Paul, is that enough where he can play that much of an offensive lineup? Because that's a crazy offensive lineup. You're talking about Silvetti, Allende, Berterame, and Messi, that you are committing fully to,
I
the
know.
attack. So
Yeah, it really will be interesting to see because, um, I think probably I feel like probably Silvetti and Allende both got the same conversation, which is like, no, 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 you're starting. Like that is you should stay this year because you're gonna still continue to start. Because I'm sure there was offers for Allende or for Silvetti as well. And I think Suarez was the only one who knew he wasn't gonna be starting. I think I mean, unless I don't know, but I think there's a lot of things up in the air now that we've made this signing. And so before we even get into more details about that, and I'm curious to see in the chat, who do you think will be starting in the attack? Let's talk about the fact that Inter Miami officially signed German Berterame, final DP spot. Um, Obviously a beast, and we know he's going to be playing really hard to try and get into that World Cup team and for Mexico, and just he's a big dude. He's sharp. He is good passing, good finishing, good a lot of things, and it's showing that Inter Miami is just trying to get better and better.
for me, it's so interesting for a team to win an MLS Cup, finding a new style of play as they go into that postseason, because we know that when Suarez went out with that suspension, they changed the way they played. They
Yeah.
completely changed the way they played. Um, to find that style and to find such quick success with that new style of play, again, with Messi as a false nine, with two wings, coming in behind him and him just feeding them all day and just having an incredible attack like that, to then bringing in Berterame, who is, it's understandable why you bring him in. Suarez is not the same, and he's an incredible attacker, but that does warrant a change in your style. That
Yeah.
to me is going to be interesting, how this team transitions and basically is going to change their style of play after having so much success. Because with Berterame, you're not playing really Messi as a false nine anymore. I think you're playing more of him more in the midfield, controlling the ball
Yeah.
more. And I think also bringing in Berterame is, you're basically sacrificing Allende or Silvetti in my eyes. I know that there's a way that it can work. You mentioned it, Ash, with all four of them. But to me, I believe you're really sacrificing Silvetti at that point. And you're going to have probably, I would say it's just going to be Messi, Berterame, and Silvetti, maybe a 2-1-2 or something like that, because Berterame is just a straight nine. Like, he is the
Yeah.
reference. If you watch his highlights, most of his goals are goals where he just is always at the right time, the right place inside the box. He's a guy that can score off the header. He's a guy that can play 1-2, run into the box and receive the ball and tap it in. He's a guy that can shoot from outside the box. But what he isn't, and maybe this is again just his usage on in Mexico, what he isn't is a guy that's going to be running into space like Allende was. They're two completely different players. Berterame doesn't do that. At least from what I saw hundreds of his goals, or tens and tens of his goals through the highlights. Not one did I see where he's running into space and behind the back line to receive the types of balls that Silvetti and Allende would receive from Messi. So that's going to be a completely different play style, and I'm interested to see how Materano, does this.
Yeah. No, I'm interested too, and I think this is a good point by Boss Daddy, which is, they were going this Inter Miami had to make changes anyway, knowing there's no Alba, knowing that there's no Busquets. I mean, and knowing Suarez is going to be on your bench, like, they had to make some changes, and maybe the thinking is that you'll still be able to keep that speed with Allende and with Silvetti or Messi or whoever it is, how they end up lining up, but you still wanna have that that taking finishing to, like, another level, right? Like, where they wanted there to be no questions of the goal scored and having so many attacking threats where Messi's not even your like, your top 2 or 3 goal scorers slash creators. I mean, you're thinking Allende and Berterame are gonna have more goals and more, chances, and that just is crazy when you're thinking about it, a team where Messi is starting. Like, it's a good scenario, right? Where we have just, like, offense everywhere. And I know this is true. Yeah, okay. I'm not saying he just feels big. Like, to me, he makes himself big with the hold up play. Exactly. Like, his hold up play and the headers, he seems like a bigger player, even though he's small, but it's what you do with it. And with him, he's just a ball magnet.
Yeah, look, obviously you can't replace Sergio Busquets. You can't replace Jordi Alba. They're one in a lifetime players. I mean, how the heck do you replace a guy that like
I
Busquets
don't know.
um, is the biggest motor of your team aside from Messi? That only he has that IQ. Only he has that ability to make the type of passes that he would make. I mean, the passes that he made last season were incredible. How do you replace Jordi Alba, not only because of his skill and IQ, but also because of the relationship he had with Messi, his ability to read Messi's mind, he knowing exactly where Messi's going to make a run into, Messi knowing exactly where Jordi. That's hard to replace. But I think that this team has done a really good job putting players in those empty positions that are still probably considered the best in MLS. I mean, I think Busquets and Jordi were considered the best at that position in MLS, and I think their replacements are, let's say, top 5 in MLS. So that's maybe not the best, but you talk about Reguilon. I think Reguilon obviously maybe hasn't found all of the success that he's wanted to have with some of the teams, but he's a team that comes with pedigree, a player rather that comes with pedigree, that comes from, I believe, Real Madrid youth. He's played in some of the top teams in Europe, and I think that that's a player that's easily top 5 in MLS, and he's a player that has a similar profile to Jordi Alba, a player that can run up the line, that can make the types of passes that Jordi Alba would make, but with a caveat, I think that was also many people haven't pinpointed is that, okay, from an attacking perspective, I think, and an IQ and what we just said, he's not the same player as Jordi Alba. But what he does bring that Jordi Alba was lacking, especially later on in his career, is the ability to get back in time on the defense. I think many times he would leave a void on his side of the field. For whatever reason. And I think that Reguilon is actually, when he's back and healthy, I think he's going to probably help us in that area where he, at his age and still having the physicality and the ability to run up and down, I think that we won't have as much of a void as Jordi Alba at times would leave when he would head up and not get back in time. So I think that that's going to be helpful. And then, I mean, you bring in Ayala instead of Busquets. Again, he's no Busquets, but he's a player that's highly regarded in MLS, and he's a player that I think is going to play perfectly alongside Rodrigo de Paul and whoever else plays next, Yannick Bright, or if it's Telasco Segovia. I think they complement each other very well, and Ayala's going to play. I think he's going to be huge for Inter Miami.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it will be interesting to see what that starting lineup is gonna look like because the designated players are done. Um, this is a team that has a lot of, you know, expectations this season, and uh, World Cup only a few months away at this point. I mean, really, obviously, it's mainly for Messi and for now Berterame, I think, to try and like stay in their best form and be prepared. Not so much for everyone else.
Mike says here too. It said, I heard someone say that if you watch a whole game, you won't see Busquets, but if you watch Busquets, you will see the whole game. Look, it's true. Busquets. I mean, there were some moments of disgustingness from Busquets. That little step back, that pullback on the ball that he does, and players fly by. But yeah, he's not the most flashy. He's not a guy that's dribbling everybody. But if you truly have a love for the game, if you truly understand the X's and O's of football, you cherished and you understood what Busquets brought to this team. This team, I believe it was in 2024 when we went into the playoffs and we were missing Busquets. I think it was for a couple of games. I don't know if he played the first. I can't remember in that series, but that team looked disconnected, completely disconnected. There was no other player on that team aside from Messi, and Messi does not always have the ball at his feet. There wasn't a player that could connect that defense to that midfield like Busquets. The through balls that Busquets would put, the IQ that he had, it's impossible. So there are times, and I've heard it I was hearing it throughout last season. I'm sure you heard it as well. People, Busquets, is done. He's old. I'm like, you guys don't know ball. Like, you don't understand how important he is to that team, really. So now he's missing. But again, this team brings in a guy like Ayala, and I think that that's going to be very helpful.
I thought they looked really good against Nacional. Like I thought it was you didn't I'd say the midfield felt pretty strong. Like Ayala did pretty good, I think, of immediately kind of being that piece, trying to replicate that sort of or the spaces that Busquets had. But I think defensively, it'll be interesting to see. Um, Obviously, without Reguilon, it's now you're kind of going with plan B defensively, and I think you're gonna see Mascherano try a few things until he feels like it's the best, depending on how quickly Reguilon recovers. It'll be interesting to see how much playing from the back with obviously Dane St. Clair, who's great. Um, you know, I think it'll just be one of those things where the jury's still out. I think for right now, you're probably gonna just see, you're gonna see Noah Allen play as the left back, and then probably Facundo Mora, and then I would say that's really gonna be the question, Falcon or Mikael and Ian Frey, like, you have multiple options. I think I'm not sure what that's gonna look like.
I mean, look, there's still, like I said, still early on in the season. Harold says it's, oh well, let me fix my camera. Excuse that. This is a new camera that I had. So I'm still not sold with new goalkeeper. Looked a little scared, needs work with footwork. Look, these guys are all still trying to get acclimated to the play style, acclimated to their teammates. I think that one of the things that we need to also realize is this is all new, and this is what you want in a preseason. You want guys to get that playing time together, especially you think about like the ball as well. You know, there's a lot of criticism. I'll say I was very critical of the ball early on, and then as time went on, he started to get his legs under him. He started to understand how they need to play, but early on, he didn't look like the player that you needed him to be in those because he didn't get a full preseason under him. So when you talk about other guys on the team, St. Clair, who obviously we know can play well, we know is really good keeping, a good goalkeeper. I think that it's going to take time, obviously, for him to get his footing and to get some playing time. Look, let's wait 4 or 5 games into this preseason, and if we still see things with St. Clair, then I think at that time maybe you can look a little bit more into it. But I think it's still too early. But St. Clair, I mean, I think what stands out
Goalkeeper of the year last year.
is goalkeeping.
Yeah.
Though. Like his
Great
actual
shot stopper, yeah.
great shot stopper. That's what stood out the most. And at the end of the day, look, Ustari was the guy that everybody thought was going to be excel on this. He did well, at least what was asked of him until his spot got taken away from him. But it was all about his footwork. But at the end of the day, I think that what you want is a solid shot stopper, and that's what you get with St. Clair, and I think that's what's most important. What is
just shoring up each position, right? Like that's what we're saying. You want the best options for each position, and so yeah, it is going to be interesting. I would also say in the midfield, I think we know for sure DePaul is the starter and Ayala is a starter, and I think it's going to be how they decide to do that third spot. Is it gonna be a Segovia or is it gonna be a Messi? And you're trying to be able to keep on, Silvete, Allende, and Berterame at the same time. I don't know. Or is it gonna be, Segovia's there and then Messi's there and then you bench Silvetti? I don't know. He's been the way they've played him so far is just like he is like the left winger and it's been really successful. So I think it would be difficult for the team and the attack and even Messi to imagine what it would be like if he wasn't there. Like, I don't know. I it's either it's gonna be who's the player that's left out. Is it gonna be Segovia who's left out, or is it gonna be Silvetti? Because that's really gonna be the question, right? Because we know it's gonna be Allende, Berterame, and Messi are guaranteed. So it's like who's gonna be the other spot in the quote unquote attacking slash midfield, right? Are they gonna go for the winger or are they gonna go for Segovia, which is kind of like more of a 8/10 role. I don't know. Is DePaul gonna come out is gonna stop coming out because towards the end of playoffs, he was playing forward a lot, and I mean, the amount of ground he covered during the playoffs is crazy, and think about it, he really had the game-sealing goal to win the MLS Cup, so now especially with those players, you're talking about a world where I don't even know if Rodrigo De Paul passes the halfway line.
Yeah. Like I said, you got plenty of options in the midfield. And I just think Silvetti is an odd man out on this one. I really do. I think I don't know if you can play with Messi and those three up front simply because I don't know. I don't expect Berterame to get back. And Messi's always going to stay up, and it's all going to depend
Is
again.
Allende going to be coming off of the left?
No. Allende will stay on the right. If he doesn't stay on the right, they may play with two forwards, like straight up forwards with Berterame and Allende. They may
like a 4-4-2, right?
Yeah, they may play more of a 4-4-2 or probably a 4-3-1-2 with three midfielders with Messi just roaming around there in the middle, and then Allende and Berterame up top. This team just brings so many, because of the personnel, so many different ways to play. It's going to be hard to guess exactly how they play. And then again, you look at these two preseason games, they don't have the full personnel where you can even start to see what type of identity they're going to have.
Yeah.
Like you honestly can't draw any conclusions out of these two games that will lead you to have an understanding of what their identity is going to look like going into this season. Once players start to train together, once they start to get their visas, once Allende can come in again, then you're going to start to see what that looks like. I mean, I know the next game that they have, I believe is, I'll check right now.
I was actually just looking that up because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so they're going to be playing against Barcelona de Guayaquil.
And yeah, that's what I was going to say, in Ecuador, right? Yeah.
Yeah, on February 7th. And then the next game, well, that's the next one it shows here. I know they were also going to go play in Puerto Rico. They were going to play Independiente del Valle. So which is another Ecuadorian team. I saw that as well. So those are two games that hopefully some of these players start to get their visa in time where we can see more of what this team is actually going to look like. And I'm sure that, towards the end of this preseason, we'll start to see, okay, this is what Mascherano's idea is. And also, there's going to be a lot of in and out. There are going to be a lot of players that are going to come in and out and still be quality starting players. If Silvetti doesn't start, I mean, and Telasco starts, for example, that one game, that doesn't mean that's going to be the next game. You can literally see players come in and out all the time. Same thing with Yannick Bright. I feel like at the end of the day, we're going to have so many games this season between all of the different tournaments that we're going to be playing that you're going to have at least two different teams playing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have caliber starting players on each one of these teams. Like, you're not going to feel like, oh, damn, we're going to play Leagues Cup. We're not playing a full team where, players are rested. No, every team is going to be a competitive team just because of the amount of players that we have. I mean, you talk about the defense. If when Reguilón is back, you're going to have Reguilón, Falcón, Michael, Noah Allen, Ian Frey, Mura. Like, you're talking about 6 guys that are all starters.
Mura, I thought looked good. Yeah,
it's all 6 guys are starters. Mura is a huge name in Racing. Racing didn't want him to leave.
Right.
Racing was in the final in Argentina. They were in the final. They didn't win.
Yeah.
They're an excellent team. So you're getting a starting caliber player from a giant in Argentina. He's a starter. All these guys are starters. So I think that's going to be incredible. And the same thing goes for the midfield, and the same thing goes for the attack. You can field multiple competitive teams, whereas last season, I didn't feel the same. Last season, I felt like you had...
we had our perfect, and then I kind of... Yeah.
You never felt like, okay, if somebody comes out, like the next player up, you're not going a notch down. You're not playing a little bit, less talent on the field. No, in this case, anybody that starts. And then you have like the other players that are probably aren't going to see as many minutes. Some of the younger guys, some of the new drafted players. Those guys are always going to be there. But you have 2 teams that can beat, I think, most MLS teams on any night.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, well, catching up on a couple of chats. This is right. So next week is the game, or this coming weekend is Ecuador, and then they go to Puerto Rico, and then the season starts on the 21st.
I had family from Ecuador here. I had family from Ecuador here, and I was talking with them, and I was like, it's like, you guys, it's so cool because they live in by Quito,
Hmm.
which is where my family is from. They live in a place called San Rafael, and it's in the valley, and it's like minutes from where Independiente del Valle plays, which is a team that is really good in Ecuador. They have a amazing installation, nice small stadium, but really nice. And I was telling them, guys, Inter Miami is gonna play Independiente del Valle. You guys are gonna get the chance to see Messi. It's gonna be so cool. You guys have to go. And then they're like, "Oh, what time?" And I go and I look it up, and I'm like, "Oh, damn, they're playing in Puerto Rico." I'm like, what in the world? I had honestly had no idea that they were gonna play in Puerto Rico, and that has to be the randomest thing I have ever heard in my life. Did I imagine you're playing Independiente del Valle in Puerto Rico? Like that's pretty wild. Honestly, I didn't even know they played soccer in Puerto Rico. To be in full honesty, I thought it was baseball and basketball.
Baseball. Yeah.
Baseball and basketball. I did not think that they would have a game in Puerto Rico. So I think it's cool at the end of the day. It's cool that they'll play there, and they don't often get any games over there, anything
Yeah.
worth watching. So it'll be cool for the fans in Puerto Rico to be able to see Messi, and I think it'll be a really good game, actually. Independiente del Valle is a really good game. Hopefully, more players are available and we can start to see a little bit of this Inter Miami team form.
Agreed. Agreed. I think
Oh,
also
yeah.
this is an
Sorry.
important comment, which is about hoping they don't burn Messi out. I do think it's also important, kind of to what your point was a little while ago, that it's good to have a lot of great options attacking that, multiple versions of the team that you feel comfortable with. Because I mean, the truth is, and there is no replacement for this, but Messi has the World Cups come, in June, and that is st- still the priority for him. And it's again not to say he's not going to play for Inter Miami because of course he is, but he's not. I don't think you're going to see 90 minutes every single match like you would normally expect. I think we may see a couple instances where he doesn't, like someone comes, he doesn't finish a game if things are decided. Maybe doesn't do a midweek game, something like that. Important to keep that in mind, and same for Berterame because he's trying to go with Mexico to the World Cup. So it is, it's an important factor. Like every player's goal is the World Cup, and not that doesn't mean Messi's going to be sitting out or not giving his all for Inter Miami. It's just about having a little bit, I think, of that in the back of your mind. Inter Miami and Mascherano, so being able to have different options that the team feels comfortable with.
Yeah, well, I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't see, even with the World Cup, I don't see much differing from what they've been doing with Messi for a while now. I think they've been trying to take care of him,
Yeah.
and we've seen them try to sit him games that are at times close, or knowing that it's a congested schedule. So I think that they'll continue to take care of him. I think that obviously the priority for many players is always going to be the national team, right? And making sure that they're ready to play with their teams. That's a huge honor to play with your national team, and
Mhm.
knowing that I think that it's going to be a balance of staying healthy, making sure he doesn't get injured so he can play in the World Cup. But part of playing in the World
And
Cup
the
is getting
ball.
playing time.
Yeah.
It's getting playing time, and it's making sure you're in good rhythm. So you also don't want to be skipping games here or there just because you don't want to get injured. I think that there's going to be a balance, and they know their bodies better than anybody else. We know that this team, and they've said it, they haven't been shy about it. A lot of times, if he plays, it's going to depend on him.
Right.
If not all the time, they ask him, "Do you want to play? Are you ready to play?" And they'll continue to do that. And for us, I think if there is a tiny bit of a worry, it's especially with no Busquets now. Um,
Yeah,
and
DePaul is gonna have
April,
to get a little bit of rest.
no, yeah, and it's not that Busquets was the playmaker. I'm not saying that, but he's somebody that could obviously command and orchestrate there in the middle. Who's going to step in when Messi's not available? Who's going to step in to be the guy that's going to be able to make the passes? That's going to be able to distribute the ball. Yeah, Silvetti, I think, has shown some signs of being able to do that. He can pass the ball. Velasco as well. We'll need the ball to step more into that role and facilitate the plays. So
It will be interesting. I do think the team is ready to go though. They're excited. They're ready to prove themselves just as continuing to be the best, the crown champions, knowing there's a lot of competitions this year that are important. Um yeah, I think it's you're going to see players playing really hard and true. I mean, Berterame is not guaranteed for Mexico, so I think you're going to see him playing as much and as well as you can and trying to create as much as you can and again, this isn't to say that any player I think, like passes it, right? When they're, that they're professionals, they make a lot of money. They get play for a prestigious club. But there is when it's a World Cup, when it's Copa America, the Euros, etc. There's a little bit of the players that are factoring that in too. I think it's everyone though, so it's not just one person. I don't think it's going to change much, but it's something to keep in mind, which by the way, I'm really excited for. I'm really excited for the World Cup. I don't think the US is going to do that well, but I think there's so many teams right now that are really firing and that are really good. Like there's a lot of favorites. We could do an episode maybe on the
dude,
World Cup.
if you watch Premier League, you
Yeah.
notice
I
how
do.
good you notice how
Yeah.
good these teams are, how many good
Yeah.
national teams are, just because of, I mean,
And players are
look at,
playing
for
well
example,
right now.
if you're watching Man United as of
Yeah.
late, Man United balling up Cunha for Brazil, disgusting. He's playing absolutely
Bruno
out of his mind.
Fernandes, yeah.
You're watching Arsenal play, like, and watching Man City play, and like there are just players from all over the world. Like there's just such good players. Honestly, look, I know this isn't a World Cup episode, but I'll say my top three. Obviously, I always have to go with Ecuador. If Ecuador doesn't win, I'm going with the U.S. And if not the US, I have to go for my wife's Colombia. But really, I really I like England a lot, Spain a lot.
I'm rooting for I root for I mean, I root for the US,
Norway, disgusting.
but
Yes, Norway.
England is who I want. But I mean, you have England, you have Brazil, Norway, Holland is always a team that the Netherlands is always good. France, you still have Kylian Mbappe right there. Portugal, you're still seeing they just won a major tournament. And there's also I think that sort of maybe rallying around like the tragedy with Diego Jota in the beginning of the
Yeah, yeah,
year, that makes a difference for sure. Um and then yeah, really like Argentina is it's there they've won the last two international big tournaments, right? And or last 3. So they're right now they've literally won the last 3 major tournaments in the world. Like they're they haven't been dethroned. They have to still be, favorites because
yeah.
they haven't lost yet.
100%. I'm just gonna touch on this. Ecuador is winning the World Cup. Look, here's my prediction with Ecuador in the World Cup. If Ecuador wins the World Cup, I think they're gonna be
They have
the
one of the
first
best players in the
team.
world.
Yeah, Moises Caicedo.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Ecuador wins the World Cup, they're going to be the first team in World Cup history to get to the final without winning a single game in regular time. They're going to tie every game to get to the World Cup, and they will win the World Cup by tying.
By ties.
Yeah, just ties, just ties. That's
Oh,
what Ecuador is going to do. I'll tell you that. I mean, if you just when you get a chance, you'll understand what I'm saying. Go and look at Ecuador's games over the last year and a half.
mhm.
Look at their record, and you'll understand why I'm saying this. They will be the first team in World Cup history to win by just tying every single game. I promise you, they're
Well,
really good at it. They're actually
that'd
really
be
good.
something. Yeah, I mean, they have a couple really, world beaters right now, including Moises Caicedo. Yeah, I we really should we're gonna do a World Cup episode.
Mbappé,
We
Arsenal.
really should do a World Cup episode.
Oh no, 100%, 100%. No, I think that I don't think that Argentina is going to win. Honestly, I'm sorry if anybody roots for Argentina here. I don't think that Argentina is winning this World Cup, but I do think Ecuador is winning it. No, just kidding. No, but Ecuador will do good. I think the U.S. has a chance to get out of the group. Obviously, if you look at that group that they got, I mean, it's like, I mean, they
They've
should be
gotten
getting
much
out of that
better.
group.
I feel much better about them now than I did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, I not for conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I also will recognize FIFA is a mafia. And when you look at the groups that Canada, Mexico, and the US got, barbecue chicken. I'm telling you, they have to. They're gonna get out of those groups. All three of them. They have to. I mean, it was set up beautifully for them.
Well, hey, it's an exciting time in soccer. Really is. Like this is all you want, and it's going to be the best. And Inter Miami have shown they're back. We're back in the swing of things. A game every week leading up to the start of the season against LAFC and Son Heung-min, which is going to be really, I think, fun and exciting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Dennis Boanga as well. That's been
That
kind of
dude
a
wants out of LA. He wants out of LA so bad. It's
he
crazy.
was ready to go to Flamengo. So
Yeah, did you see? Supposedly, Inter Miami wanted him, and
wanted him as well. Yeah.
they didn't
Well,
accept the
now where
offers.
would he even play? There's two of the like
Dude,
there's
I've always
we would
told
be in
when I watch it, I've
trouble.
always told my wife, I've told her how much I would love to have Buonga on Inter. Imagine Buonga with Messi, dude. That would be prime cinema. Prime cinema. I promise you. Better fit than Berterame, but I'm happy Berterame's here. But better fit in my eyes. That would have been pure cinema to have those two, Buonga and Messi, together. But yeah, this team is. I mean, this team is ready, and they've got the weapons to go out there. And as they continue to promise this season, they're going for everything. They're going
Yeah.
for everything, everything, everything. And I believe truly deep down inside that it is possible for this team to not. I mean, I'm not going to say everything, but I think it is very realistic to say that this team can get to a final and win a Champions Cup and win an MLS Cup this season with how well they have taken care of and managed this offseason.
100%. Well, we'll be there to see all of it. Also, Spain. I forgot it. How would we forget about Spain? Thank you, Anna. Like, oh my gosh, they're the favorites probably to win it. God, it's gonna be a good World Cup. Okay, we're gonna do an episode. We're gonna do a World Cup episode to deep dive into the best teams and all that, which will include Argentina and Messi. But for this episode, I think it was great. We talked about we have two preseason games in the books. We have two upcoming. Like we said, we're back in the swing of things. We got our final designated player. It'll be really exciting to see what Inter Miami cooks up in terms of the starters and different formations we're going to see, different rotations, all that good stuff. And we hope they keep winning. But we'll be here. Make sure you're following us on X at Messi Co for the latest news. We'll do game highlights, analysis, all that stuff. Make sure you're tuned in Mondays here at 6 p.m. Eastern, where we will be going live to talk about all the latest and greatest for Inter Miami. All I'll say is we're back. So for this episode of Messi Co, I'm Ashley. That is Gian, and we will see you next time.
See y'all.